Today, you're getting a double dose of pure uselessness. That's right. It's the ultimate compilation of Part 9 and Part 10. That means even more bizarre facts, brain-melting info, and things you'll probably never need in real life, but won't be able to forget. So sit back, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and get ready for over 30 minutes of mind-blowing facts. Let's get useless. Ready to dive into a rabbit hole of facts so weird they might just make your brain do the moonwalk? We've got vending machines that broker peace deals, and cars so ugly even thieves said, "I'm good, thanks."
So many questions. Why is the world spinning? Why is the moon keeping its orbit? Can rockets fly backwards? The facts you didn't know you needed. The Useless Show.
Gladiators ate like champs. They were actually called hordieri because they consumed massive amounts of barley for energy. Their diet was basically carbs, carbs, and more carbs, making them the ancient equivalent of your friend who only eats pasta before a workout and still flexes. The US takeaway boom started with Chinese food in the 1920s, but here's the twist. Most dishes were made up for Americans. Chop suey and General Tso's chicken? Totally fake, but they were cheap. Lake Bosumtui, Ghana's only natural lake, is actually the crater of a 10.5-kilometer-wide meteor impact. Locals believe it's sacred, and some say the spirits of the dead live there. So yeah, it's both a geological marvel and a full-on ghost water park. Some folks wear full-eye lenses that mimic the effect of eyeball tattoos. Think pure black, neon green, or straight-up demon iris. Originally used in horror films, now goths, cosplayers, and people who want to get kicked out of weddings wear them casually, blink, and children cry. Beer goggles actually exist. One college researcher made literal beer goggles using distortion lenses to simulate how bad your eyesight gets after drinks. Scientists actually built lenses that minify the world instead of enlarging it. When you look through one, everything looks like it's really far away. It's useless unless you're an ant trying to socially distance. A few labs have made experimental lenses that mimic fly eyes. Yes, compound vision, with hundreds of tiny views at once. You put them on and suddenly it's like watching the world through a kaleidoscope during a panic attack. It's not practical, but it's insect-level trippy. Diamond lenses for space lasers are a thing. NASA and laser researchers have used synthetic diamond lenses to handle extreme heat and radiation. These bad boys don't melt, fracture, or care. They're so tough, even light gets nervous. Romans used hydraulic organs powered by water. Imagine an ancient EDM concert where the DJ's gear is gurgling like a sink. These things were loud, mechanical, and played in coliseums to hype up gladiator fights, nothing like stabbing to the sound of water-powered techno. Flat earthers filming curved horizons to prove flatness must be the most absurd thing ever. Some believers in the flat earth theory literally rent high-altitude balloons with cameras. The footage always shows the Earth's curve. Their reaction? It's the lens lying to us. There's a real conspiracy claiming that birds are not real, just government surveillance robots recharging on power lines. Imagine living in a world where seagulls are secret agents. Some folks think aliens built the pyramids, mowed crop circles, and possibly invented hot pockets. Human ingenuity? Nah. If a civilization made anything vaguely symmetrical before Wi-Fi, it must have been ET with a blueprint and a grudge. Time is a cube. A guy named Gene Ray once passionately argued that each day has 4 simultaneous days happening in a time cube. He drew complex diagrams to prove this. Scientists were confused, everyone else was terrified, and Timecube.com became the black hole of logic for an entire decade. Banana peel slippers are the future of footwear. One influencer once claimed banana peels are nature's shoes. His logic? They're biodegradable, cushioned, and always smell fresh. He walked through a grocery store in peel sneakers and slipped. Twice. In 2009, a crocodile crashed a plane in Congo. A smuggled crocodile on a small plane escaped mid-flight. Passengers panicked and ran to one side of the aircraft, throwing off its balance. The plane crashed. Only one person survived. The crocodile didn't. Yes, this is real. Nature took everyone down with it. In 2018, a small plane ran out of fuel and crash-landed perfectly onto a golf course. No one was hurt. The golfers didn't stop playing. The pilot even stuck around for a few holes. In 2006, a plane had engine trouble during takeoff and clipped a porta-potty at a Canadian construction site. No one was inside, but the poor plastic toilet exploded into blue doom. The pilot was fine. The dignity of that porta potty, however, was not. A light aircraft crash-landed on the roof of a moving car in California. The driver kept going, unaware that a plane had landed on him or that he was just too lazy to care. Eventually, someone flagged him down. He got out, looked up, and said, "Well, that's new." Two cryptid hunters of Oregon chartered a small plane to search for Bigfoot in remote woods in 1987. The engine failed midair. The plane crash-landed. No Bigfoot, but plenty of broken dreams and bruised egos. Irony? They blamed Bigfoot for causing the crash. Even legends can't catch a break. After centuries of rivalries, wars, and bloody conflicts, Britain and France agreed to the Entente Cordiale, essentially shaking hands and agreeing to get along. The odd twist? They celebrated by, what else? Competing in a race to colonize as much of Africa as possible, because nothing says peace like rampant imperialism. After decades of intense hostility, North and South Korea took part in joint ceremonies during the 2002 Asian Games, even sending a unified team. The strangest part? The performances included synchronized mass choreographed displays where thousands of people waved colored cards to form images, including giant images of the leaders. Somehow, waving cards was the bridge to peace. In a bizarre post-World War II show of reconciliation, Italy and Switzerland held an official pizza-making contest. Whoever made the best pizza was considered the true winner of cultural supremacy. No one talked about the weirdness of making pizza a diplomatic tool, but hey, peace is peace, and it's cheesy. USA and Japan's vending machine peace was a big deal. After World War II, one of the first peace gestures between the US and Japan was the mass importation of Japanese vending machines into the United States. The irony? Both nations had just been in a brutal war, and now they're exchanging coin-operated snack dispensers as symbols of international goodwill. After decades of tension, India and Pakistan agreed to a bizarre peace agreement based on playing football or soccer together. The catch? The match was for diplomats, not athletes. The absurdity of seeing world leaders kick around a ball for peace was somehow the softest, weirdest olive branch ever offered. In Filipino mythology, there's a creature called the manananggal, a woman who splits her body in half at night. The torso grows wings, flies around drinking blood through a tongue straw, and leaves her legs behind like it's laundry day. You thought vampires were creepy? Try one with detachable abs. The 1958 Ford Edsel had a grill that looked like a toilet seat trying to smirk. It was supposed to be futuristic, but the front end looked like it was sucking on a lemon. Sales tanked so hard, Edsel became slang for failure. Even car thieves avoided it because getting caught in one was embarrassing. The Pontiac Aztek 2001 model looked like a minivan after a blender accident. It had weird clashing angles, two-tone body panels, and the soul of a confused transformer. The Reliant Robin was a three-wheeled British disaster that flipped over if you breathed too hard. Designed to save money, it ended up launching itself like a sleepy gymnast every time it turned. There's a Russian candy called broken glass jelly, which looks like a kaleidoscope exploded in jello. It's basically colored gelatin chunks inside clear jelly that looks like stained glass. Some pyramids feature false chambers that lead tomb robbers into vertical shafts filled with instant death traps. Ancient engineers built passages that looked like the way to the pharaoh's bling. It takes about 200 grams of ashes to make one tiny diamond, so if you plan on making multiple diamonds from one person, you'd better hope they weren't on the petite side. Some companies even mix in carbon from hair just to top off the tank like it's a weird emotional gas station. Fossil fuels come from the remains of dead plants and animals that got buried under layers of dirt and rock. This was a really long time ago, like millions of years ago. So, when you're filling up your car, you're technically burning long-gone ancient swamp creatures and trees that thought they'd just be chilling forever. Don't eat fruit after 2 p.m., said several juice-obsessed gurus. Apparently, the sugar in a strawberry becomes demonic if consumed post-lunch. This myth suggests bananas get sassier in the evening and mangoes throw insulin tantrums. Science says that's nonsense, but hey, if grapes haunt your dreams, maybe they are too powerful after lunch. Alkaline diet fans said lemons are alkalizing, even though they're acidic. This gem of advice insists your body's pH is a moody teenager you must micromanage with green juices and cucumber water. Spoiler alert, your kidneys handle that just fine. But sure, go fight stomach acid with a lemon wedge if that makes you feel superior. Ukraine has pedestrian signals with animated moonwalk icons. In some cities, when it's time to cross, the little walking guy doesn't just stroll, he moonwalks. The War of Jenkins' Ear in 1739 was triggered by a British sea captain, Robert Jenkins, whose ear was allegedly cut off by the Spanish in the Caribbean. Jenkins then presented his severed ear to the British Parliament as a symbol of the Spanish cruelty. This led to a whole war between Britain and Spain. One ear. That's it. Talk about a case of fighting for the wrong reasons. Some people forced their cats to wear doggles or dog goggles. For real, some pet owners thought their cats needed sunglasses. Apparently, these poor felines were saddled with eye protection because it looks cute, or it's to prevent eye irritation. Imagine having to wear accessories designed for other animals and not getting any say in the matter. That's some serious feline oppression. A rain of frogs is actually a thing in some areas of the world. In Honduras, it rains frogs every year. Not metaphorically, real frogs. From the sky. The phenomenon, called lluvia de peces, happens so often that people celebrate it. Imagine walking outside and getting slapped by a falling amphibian. The sky turned neon purple in Indonesia because mangoes? A freak weather mix turned the sunset sky radioactive purple. People thought it was the apocalypse, but it was just air pollution, mango tree pollen, and some overly excited atmospheric scattering. The sky didn't need to look like Thanos' living room, but it did. For aesthetic. A koala slapped another koala off a tree for simply existing. In Australia, a chill koala was just minding its eucalyptus-scented business when another came along, shrieked like a banshee, and yeeted the poor thing off the branch. The floating house in Tokyo Bay. In Japan, there's a house that sits on a man-made island in Tokyo Bay. It's not just an island, it's floating. So technically, this house is constantly rocking with the tides. I can't imagine the constant motion being the best environment for a good night's sleep, unless you're secretly a mermaid. One-drop rule in Jim Crow America. If you had one drop of African blood, you were legally classified as black. Even if you looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost, you'd still be treated as a second-class citizen if your great-great-grandma came from Africa. It was racial math based on wild imagination, not genetics. Thinking of a way to have a highlighted dispatch from the world? Plastic coffins. That glow in the dark could be the answer. Somewhere between tacky and terrifying, some companies offer glow-in-the-dark plastic coffins. So when you're 6 feet under, at least you'll light up the afterlife rave. After Pearl Harbor, over 120,000 Japanese Americans were thrown into camps. Meanwhile, Americans of German or Italian descent were mostly left alone. Models have an addiction to heel walking practice in any space merely available space. They secretly rehearse their runway walk in airport bathrooms, gas station tiles, or even tiny airplane aisles. Hair bleaching madness before castings consumes a healthy amount of hair. Some agencies demand specific hair colors that week. Cue the bleach baths at 3 a.m., sometimes done in kitchen sinks or motel showers. The scalp doesn't scream, it sobs. Window frost draws creepy etchings. Some frost patterns on windows form landscapes, faces, or even what looks like ancient runes. Scientists say it's the surface tension and moisture, but it honestly feels like your house is haunted by a Victorian ghost with a flair for abstract snow graffiti. Brinicles. The ice fingers of doom scare many aquatic folks minding their business. In Antarctica, freezing brine sinks into the ocean water, forming deadly underwater icicles called brinicles. These finger of death tubes kill everything in their path like slow-motion ice sabers. Hair ropes are used for boats in China. Yep, human hair was once twisted into ropes strong enough to anchor small boats. Sailors didn't just trust knots, they trusted someone's discarded ponytail to keep them afloat. Hair jewelry was a custom from the Victorian era. Mourning loved ones? Why not wear their hair around your neck? Victorians braided dead people's hair into necklaces, rings, and brooches. Romantic? Maybe. Creepy? Definitely. The Maya were like, wheels? Yeah, we've seen them, but no thanks. Despite having the tech for them, they didn't use wheels for transport. Why? No large domesticated animals to pull carts in tough terrain made it impractical. Instead, they crushed it with human labor and crazy good roads. Keys went digital and got nerdy. In cyberspace, they're not jingling metal bits. They're secret codes unlocking your emails, bank apps, and weird late-night purchases. Cryptographic keys are like the bouncers of the internet. Public keys invite people in, private keys make sure no creeps sneak through. Basically, keys went from pockets to firewalls. Beards aren't just lumberjack fashion statements, they're face blankets with purpose. Ancient dudes didn't grow them for hipster cred. Those whiskers kept faces warm, blocked UV rays, and even filtered out rogue dust and allergens. Who knew chin fur could multitask like a rugged survival tool with attitude? Hair is converted into fertilizer in India. Temples collect tons of shaved hair from religious offerings and sell it to companies that grind it into amino acid-rich fertilizer. That's right. Your crops might be thriving thanks to the sacred split ends of strangers. Hair-based textiles in World War II earned a fortune. When fabric ran short during the war, some desperate manufacturers used human hair to create thread and insulation. In 17th century China, some folks mixed a pinch of gunpowder into toothpaste for sparkling white teeth. Yes, they literally brushed their mouths with mini-bombs. Fireworks, because we're extra. Long before we used gunpowder to blast holes in walls, the Chinese used it to light up the sky in glorious, unnecessary color. It started with bamboo tubes tossed into the fire. Early rocket-powered birds. Medieval engineers in the Middle East and Asia strapped gunpowder-filled tubes to wooden birds or animals as primitive missiles. It's the ancient equivalent of duct-taping bottle rockets to a fake pigeon and yelling freedom. Stage effects for drama queens was a major fire hazard. In old European theaters, gunpowder was used to simulate thunder, lightning, or divine wrath. It often led to actual chaos, burning curtains, and unconscious actors. Fake caviar could be produced from hydrocolloids by fancy liars. Sodium alginate and calcium chloride are used to make fake caviar that pops like the real thing, but contains mango juice, soy sauce, or even vodka. Because nothing says class like fish egg imposters oozing wasabi on your $3 sushi from a mall food court. Noodle Splash Face Guard, a plastic face shield designed to protect your face from hot ramen splashes. Yes, because apparently slurping noodles is now a contact sport. Diet water, real product from Japan. It's water that's on a diet, because clearly regular water was making you fat. It contains nothing. Same as normal water, but it's labeled diet, so now it costs extra and makes you feel morally superior while sipping literal H2O. Invisible wound bandages. That ooze cool gel could have been a marvelous invention. Hydrocolloid dressings seal wounds and turn the fluid into a gel. Sounds helpful, right? Until you realize it looks like your scab is producing alien snot. No left-handedness is tolerated in Islam. In some Islamic cultures, using the left hand for anything, eating, greeting, or even holding things, is considered impolite or unclean. So, if you're left-handed, prepare for a lifetime of awkward right-hand-only encounters. Hindu cow worship. Cock no beef at the BBQ. Hindus view cows as sacred, and for some sects, consuming beef is a religious no-go. In certain regions of India, killing cows is illegal, and if you dare eat a hamburger, you're committing a sacrilege. Meanwhile, the cow just continues to chill, producing milk and judging your breakfast choices. Toilet tanks in office buildings hire fish as janitors and do not even pay them. In a few forgotten corners of Southeast Asia, people have kept fish like guppies and bettas inside toilet flush tanks to control mosquito larvae. Imagine being a fish born to swim wild, now floating next to someone's business like you're on a permanent septic safari. The Devil's Bath in New Zealand is a neon green pool of acidic horror, yet extremophile fish somehow survive there. These fish don't care if the pH is the same as battery acid. They're just vibing, probably mutating into something the X-Men would be scared of. Some cavefish live their entire lives in pitch-black underwater caves with no light and no eyes. They've evolved into pale, blind ghost fish that swim like confused phantoms. They don't need sight. They've got depression, sonar, and zero social interaction. Pools inside active volcano craters are popular spots for Pisces parties. Welcome to boiling death puddles like Kawah Ijen in Indonesia, where fish live in ridiculously hot, sulfur-packed water. They act like it's a spa day, while your skin would peel off like old wallpaper. These fish are too metal to care about basic survival standards. Trees during the flood season are a picnic spot for fish. In the Amazon, fish swim through trees like aquatic Tarzans during flood season. You could literally fish in the forest. Some species even feed on fruit that falls into the water, turning these swimmers into part-time vegetarians who just casually float through someone's backyard orchard. Food could be fried in sand. In parts of rural China and the Middle East, some cooks heat up river sand instead of oil and stir-fry stuff like peanuts or eggs in it. Deep frying with mayonnaise. Yes, someone decided oil wasn't creamy enough and dunked food into a vat of mayo. This rich, artery-clogging nightmare results in an oddly tangy, overly greasy crust that clings like emotional trauma. You don't eat it, you regret it with every slippery, cholesterol-packed bite. Lightning fried fish. Some lunatic geniuses use Tesla coils to flash fry a fish using actual bolts of electricity. It's not practical, it's not safe, and it definitely turns your kitchen into a small war zone. Frying with candle flames. For the patient and mildly unhinged, there's candle-fried bacon. People stack candles, hang bacon on skewers above them, and slowly cook it one greasy drip at a time. It takes hours. Your kitchen smells like a butcher shop seance. Mirror farms were used to light underground cities. In parts of Norway and Italy, towns stuck in dark valleys literally aimed giant mirrors at the sky to reflect sunlight down into the gloom. It's like nature said, "No light for you," and humanity said, "Hold my reflective disc." Construction of the White House kicked off in 1792 and wrapped up in 1800, proving even national landmarks can run behind schedule. Irish architect James Hoban designed it, and the final bill was around $232,000. Which could buy you a tiny closet in modern-day DC. John Adams moved in while it was still under construction. Spy mirrors hidden in eyeglasses. In the Cold War, spies wore glasses with tiny angled mirrors inside the lenses so they could see behind them. Imagine casually spying on people while pretending to read a menu. Feng Shui mirror battles. In some neighborhoods in China, families mount bagua mirrors to reflect bad energy away. If two houses have opposing mirrors, it becomes a literal mirror duel, each side bouncing evil chi back and forth like it's psychic ping pong. Advanced ceramics are the overachievers of the material world. They've gone from grandma's flower vase to starring in space missions and fixing broken teeth. Bioceramics like hydroxyapatite bond with bones, while silicon carbide survives fiery spacecraft re-entries like it's on vacation. Mirror-lined coffins for ghost monitoring. Some 19th century folks believed lining coffins with mirrors would either trap the soul inside or prevent it from haunting the living. Younger siblings statistically take more risks because after years of watching big siblings screw up, they think they're invincible. Psychology links this to both parental leniency and the desire to stand out. Only children and lastborns tend to be more creative and unconventional. Why? They've either grown up talking to themselves or dodging rules their parents were too tired to enforce by kid number 3. In psychology, it's called divergent thinking. In real life, it's why your youngest sibling wants to be a YouTuber or magician CEO of vibes. You can overdose on nutmeg. Yes, that innocent spice in your holiday cookies can straight up trip your brain if you eat enough. Just 2 tablespoons can cause hallucinations, nausea, and a full-blown existential crisis. So basically, it's the only spice that turns your digestive system into a rave gone wrong. Solar-powered frying mirrors. Somewhere in California, a guy fried an egg using a parabolic mirror and the raw, unforgiving wrath of the sun. No stove, no fire, just 1,000-degree death rays and a frying pan. It's eco-friendly and wildly chaotic. Sabbath and bathroom breaks in Judaism. Some strict interpretations of Jewish law prohibit using the bathroom on the Sabbath as it's seen as work, so you could spend an entire day trying to avoid nature's call while wishing your bladder had a stronger understanding of the spirit of the Sabbath. Fasting from the sun in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians had an odd custom of fasting from the sun during specific religious rituals. On these days, the sun's rays were considered dangerous or impure, so they stayed indoors or in shadowy places. Sunbathing? Not on this deity's watch. Buddhist no killing equals mosquito terrors. While Buddhists are prohibited from killing any living creature, including mosquitoes, This ruling has led to some bizarre ethical dilemmas. Picture this: a mosquito buzzing around, and you caught in an existential crisis, wondering if the universe can forgive a tiny swat for a bigger karmic blow. Porcelain's rise is like the rock star of ceramics, debuting in China during the Tang Dynasty and captivating the world with its dazzling strength and beauty. By the time the Song Dynasty rolled around, it was basically the Beyoncé of pottery. For centuries, China kept its porcelain recipe locked up until Europe finally crashed the party in the 18th century, copying the delicate masterpiece. Carrots can turn you orange. Eat too many carrots and you might turn into an Oompa Loompa. It's called carotenemia, and it happens when excess beta-carotene gets cozy under your skin. Great for your eyes, but not so great if you're trying to sneak past traffic cones. The White House is basically a presidential luxury resort disguised as a government office. With 132 rooms, 35 bathrooms, a pool, movie theater, bowling alley, and even a tennis court. It's like the ultimate Airbnb no one else gets to book. It's been home to every U.S. president since John Adams. Talk about exclusive real estate. Many haunted houses turn out to have carbon monoxide leaks. Yep, people hallucinate, feel watched, and even hear voices because their heating system is poisoning them. Imagine calling a priest when you actually need a plumber. The ghost wasn't angry. It was your brain slowly losing oxygen like a bad Scooby-Doo episode with science. The famous Amityville horror case was allegedly based on a complete hoax. The family later admitted they made up the demon pig with glowing eyes, the slime walls, and the ghost marching band, all to get out of their mortgage. Nothing says demonic possession like avoiding foreclosure through fiction. During ghost hunts, cold spots are often just poor insulation or air conditioning leaks. People freak out over a sudden temperature drop and scream, "A spirit is here," when it's actually just a 1987 vent slowly farting air onto their necks. Ghosts might be spooky, but HVAC systems are relentless. Flaming hot Cheetos send kids to the ER. Doctors have literally reported ER visits caused by flamin' hot Cheetos. The dust is so spicy and radioactive looking, it's like licking a volcano in clown makeup. Kids binge it until their stomachs rebel and start speaking in tongues. Bananas are radioactive. Each banana contains a teeny tiny amount of potassium-40, a naturally occurring radioactive isotope. No, you won't grow a tail, but technically, you could measure your banana intake in banana-equivalent doses of radiation, the only fruit that's low-calorie and mildly apocalyptic. Cooking with lava. In Iceland, chefs use actual molten lava to grill steaks, not lava rocks, literal hell juice flowing from a volcano. Coffee made from elephant poo is considered luxury in some areas. Thailand's black ivory coffee is brewed from beans digested by elephants. Yes, they eat it, poop it, and some genius went, "Let's try boiling this." It's apparently smoother, probably because your taste buds faint in protest before reaching the bitterness. A car engine can be used to sear steaks. Tailgate chefs in the U.S. wrap meat in foil and wedge it near the engine. Drive for an hour and boom, V8 brisket. Risky business though. One wrong turn and your chicken becomes a motor oil popsicle with spark plug seasoning. Ironing your sandwich. Some dorm-level innovators use clothing irons to grill sandwiches. No panini press, just wrap your sandwich in foil and press it like yesterday's laundry. Solar-powered pizza ovens made from mirrors. Eco-warriors in California once cooked pizza using a circle of mirrors reflecting sunlight onto one poor pie. The result? A melted, half-cooked tragedy that blinded 3 seagulls and summoned the sun god for questioning. Environmentally friendly, emotionally scarring. In 1917, Britain casually promised Palestine to both Jews and Arabs, like it was handing out party invites, except neither the land nor the people were actually Britain's to give. The Balfour Declaration was basically a geopolitical version of, "Sure, take my neighbor's car," and it led to a century-long headache we're still dealing with. The Berlin Conference of 1884 was basically a colonial monopoly where European powers divided up Africa over coffee and cigars, despite owning none of it. Not a single African was invited. It was like auctioning off someone else's house while they were still living in it, except with more mustaches and imperial delusion. Live grenade catches are a way of bonding in the military. In South Korea's Special Forces training, recruits practice live grenade drills where they must throw it and immediately dive for cover. The twist? Sometimes instructors fake a miss hit just to watch panic unfold. Army recruits are trained for naked jungle survival in case they forget to wear clothes someday. In some branches of the Brazilian military, trainees are dropped into the Amazon naked and told to survive for days. No food, no clothes, just bugs, snakes, and existential dread. The Big Pineapple in Australia is made of rock. Standing 16 meters tall, this absurd fruit monument in Queensland looks like a tropical Godzilla snack. Built to attract tourists, it serves no real purpose other than saying, "Look, giant pineapple. It's hollow, echoey, and was once used to sell pineapple jam." The giant fork. Switzerland has no practical purpose. In Vive, a 26-foot fork just rises out of a lake. No explanation, just fork. Locals say it symbolizes the nearby food museum, but let's be honest, it's like Poseidon had a salad emergency. Ducks swim around it like it's totally normal to see cutlery emerging from a body of water. Deep-fried nonsense. Located in Long Island, this massive duck-shaped building was originally built to sell duck eggs. Because, of course, if you want people to buy eggs, you build a literal duck-shaped house. It now serves as a tourist shop. Clearly, someone thought subtlety was for losers. In the middle of the Atacama Desert, a massive human hand reaches out of the sand like a buried titan asking for help. No plaques, no context, no bathrooms, just 5 giant fingers and a long drive into existential emptiness. People take selfies, then ask themselves why. Bear wrestling in Russia is an eye-catching sight. Russian military folklore includes unconfirmed tales of recruits wrestling bears or training near them to develop fearlessness. Whether this was real or vodka-induced hallucination is unclear, but if any country would arm battle a bear in a snowstorm shirtless, it's Russia. The giant kelpies located in Scotland are 2 30-meter horse heads made of steel that loom over Falkirk like equine guardians of confusion. Shouting at clouds, in ancient Sparta, young warriors were ordered to scream into the void to scare off weakness. They would literally yell into the air until their voices cracked and their spirits hardened. Basically, it was yelling therapy before millennials made it trendy. Japan's crying baby sumo contest is borderline child abuse. In a festival called Naki Sumo, sumo wrestlers hold up babies and try to make them cry. The louder the ball, the more blessings the baby gets. So yes, in Japan, a giant man making your baby scream is considered a spiritual win. Thailand's Monkey Buffet Festival is not for humans. Every year, the city of Lopburi sets out a lavish all-you-can-eat buffet. But for monkeys, fruits, cakes, and soda towers are devoured by thousands of macaques while locals cheer them on. No, the monkeys don't pay. Yes, they throw food like bratty toddlers. A punch bowl with goldfish will make you question your life choices. One genius thought it'd be whimsical to put live goldfish in the punch bowl. Half the guests drank around them, the other half adopted them. A guy got raided over having too many rubber ducks. In Florida, of course, a man's bathtub filled with 500 rubber ducks triggered a noise complaint. Police assumed it was illegal water usage or maybe a duck cult. They raided his apartment only to find him stress bathing with a yellow army of squeakers. Lettuce farm, mistaken for weed empire, caused chaos among security officers. UK police once helicopter old man's greenhouse after spotting suspicious plants from the air. Turned out he was just growing world champion romaine lettuce. They confiscated a salad and left a very confused pensioner and one extremely disappointed rabbit. Too much karaoke passion wreaked panic in the neighbors. A woman in Japan sang, "My Heart Will Go On," 48 times in a row at full volume. Neighbors called the police, thinking she was under demonic possession or planning a very slow crime. The SWAT team arrived to find her dramatically holding a hairbrush microphone. Sugar unlocks temporary rage goblin mode in children. Some kids on a sugar rush don't just get hyper, they turn into caffeinated raccoons with fists, punching air, yelling nonsense, and declaring a war on invisible enemies, all before crashing into a puddle of their own tears because someone looked at their cookie. Sugar has been reported to cause a sudden spurt of philosophical debates. Some adults report that after a major sugar high, their brains enter weird overdrive, and they suddenly have intense thoughts like, "What is time?" or "Do marshmallows dream?" A Christmas parade in Texas had an unfortunate float collapse due to faulty design. The float was supposed to look like a giant snowman, but instead, it resembled a crumpled, sad pile of white fabric on wheels. Kids were left staring in confusion, as if they'd witnessed the sad death of winter. A college dorm party turned into a full-on police raid when someone called in a suspicious smell. Cops expected drugs, but instead found an experimental pizza topped with fermented herring. The stench? Legally considered biological warfare in 3 countries. In New Jersey, cops raided a basement where men were allegedly betting on squirrel races. The tiny rodents wore numbered vests and ran through mazes for peanuts. One even had a trainer. The whole event was shut down when a squirrel bit the ref. A rapid sugar spike before bed can mess with REM sleep so badly. Some people report dreaming about dancing bananas, arguing apples, or being on trial in a court run by jelly beans. Basically, your subconscious becomes a Pixar movie written by a lunatic. Ever seen a kid laugh so maniacally on sugar that it felt like they were plotting the downfall of humanity? That's the glucose storm hitting the brain's reward center, turning them into a mix of the Joker and a malfunctioning Pez dispenser. Every year, the town of Buñol hosts La Tomatina, a massive tomato fight where 20,000 people lob overripe tomatoes at each other like angry food critics. No reason, no reward, just a red river of wasted salad ingredients and stained dignity. It's produce-based anarchy, and it's somehow legal. A sugar rush in sensitive people can mimic very mild sensory hallucinations, like lights being too bright, walls breathing, or feeling like sound has a texture. During a Mardi Gras parade in Florida, a float's flame effects went a little too wild and set a nearby building on fire. The flames spread to nearby floats. The real kicker? The fire department had to get involved in a parade, which is pretty much the opposite of festive. A UK company released a perfume that smells like old books, not the fresh print kind. The mildewy, grandma's attic, pages stuck together kind. Bibliophiles loved it, but others wondered why you'd want to smell like a haunted library or a used paperback from 1972. Thanks to Burger King Japan, you can now smell like grilled meat with their flame-grilled cologne. Great for seducing stray dogs, confusing vegans, and ensuring no one sits near you on public transport. While most people run screaming from tarantulas, there's a subset of brave, or perhaps insane people who adopt them as pets. Some even feed them crickets and build entire terrariums with fake plants. The weirdest part? These spiders can live up to 30 years, so you're essentially signing up for a long-term relationship with something that could devour your soul. Or at least a cricket. Jesters' outfits were often designed to make them look foolish, but they also had practical functions. Some costumes had hidden pockets for carrying messages or secret tools. So, while the king thought they were just being funny, the jester was secretly acting as a spy or messenger. Jesters may have appeared to be nothing more than silly entertainers, but they often wielded more influence and power than we'd give them credit for. Being a royal comedian was a full-time gig, one that could make or break a monarch's rule. Roman garum, fish sauce for everything. Romans loved their garum, a fermented fish sauce used in almost every dish and drink. It was like the ancient version of ketchup, but way more pungent. Some even mixed it with wine, proving that the Romans truly knew how to spice things up, literally and figuratively. Beer was a staple in ancient Egypt, but it was often made with a bizarre twist. It was brewed with dates and sometimes flavored with honey and grains. Roman soldiers drank pasca, a mix of watered-down vinegar, salt, and herbs. It wasn't exactly a refreshing beverage, but more like a survival drink. Think of it as an ancient version of energy drinks, except instead of giving you a boost, it probably just made you want to question your life choices. Yes, people actually keep skunks as pets. Skunks, known for their signature smell, are domesticated and cared for by their owners. But let's be honest, they're still skunks. Imagine being invited to a friend's house, only to be greeted by a miniature raccoon that's actively plotting to steal your chips. Skunks are the sneaky snack thieves of the pet world. Some pet owners in Europe treat their snakes like accessories. Picture this, a person strutting into a cafe with a sleek snake hanging out of their purse like it's just another handbag. It's chic and dangerous. Mini pigs, touted as the next big thing in cute pets, are often not so many. These little creatures start small, but in the end, you end up with a 350-pound bacon machine that thinks it's a lapdog. It's like adopting a small farm animal and trying to keep it in your living room. Spoiler alert, not all apartments allow pigs. Chinese researchers tried to extract aromatic oils from panda droppings. Apparently it had a woody, earthy tone. Or maybe that's just how denial smells. The only thing rarer than this perfume was a date willing to tolerate it. NASA commissioned a scent to mimic the smell of outer space. Astronauts say it's like seared steak, hot metal, and ozone. Basically, if you ever wanted to smell like you just finished wrestling a robot on the sun, this is your moment. A party in the US decided to make a cake that would be covered in slime instead of icing. They went all in, with a real slime fountain dripping down the sides. It looked cool at first, but after a few bites, guests realized they were essentially eating slime-flavored fondant. A lesson was learned. Slime and cake should never be in the same sentence. In 90% of possessed doll cases, the dolls moved because of vibration from nearby traffic or slight floor tilts. One viral haunted doll video was later found to be sitting on an uneven shelf in a house next to a subway line. The real horror? People paid $300 to own that wiggling toy. Poltergeist activity, like objects flying or moving, is sometimes caused by teenagers going through emotional distress. Psychologists call it recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. In 1803, France sold the Louisiana Territory to the United States, despite having barely explored it and most of the land being inhabited by Native American tribes. Napoleon basically went, "I need cash. Here, have this giant patch of forest full of people I've never met." America bought it anyway. In 1494, the Treaty of Tordesillas saw Spain and Portugal dividing the entire non-European world between themselves with a straight line on a map, like kids splitting a sandwich. They hadn't seen half of it yet, but that didn't stop them from assigning entire continents like they were picking teams for dodgeball. One man in Japan coped with his wife's death by building a full-sized robot replica of her. He didn't stop there. He programmed it to repeat her favorite complaints. Nothing says "I miss you" like getting roasted daily by your late wife's AI twin for not folding socks properly. In 1867, Russia sold Alaska to the US for $7.2 million because it thought the frozen tundra was useless. Are the indigenous peoples living there? Not consulted. The natural resources? Wildly underestimated. The US later found oil and gold, and Russia realized it had pulled off history's most unintentionally generous garage sale. In 18th century Europe, the French court introduced fashion-coded genders. Yes, clothing as gender expression long before TikTok. Some folks turn ashes into vinyl records. You can literally spin Aunt Judy's cremains into a slow jazz album. Every time you play it, you hear her favorite tunes and the faint crackle of bone dust providing backup percussion. Mourning meets mixtape, and it's both touching and terrifying. The Egyptian Nilometer was a giant stone stick plopped in the Nile to measure water levels. It looked like a glorified bird bath, but it actually decided if Egyptians feasted or starved. If the water rose too much, flood. Too little, famine. The Romans had a weird love for the groma, a cross-shaped stick they used to map roads and cities. It required you to stand in place, squint at strings, and pretend you knew geometry. Basically, a land surveyor's version of interpretive dance in togas. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building at 2,717 feet, required innovative construction techniques. Its foundation alone used over 58,000 cubic yards of concrete. Engineers developed a special cooling method to pour concrete in the extreme desert heat, ensuring structural stability. The tower incorporates advanced wind resistance features, making it an architectural marvel. In 1991, the Gulf War gave us the largest oil spill in history, when Saddam Hussein literally opened oil valves into the Persian Gulf like he was unleashing a villain monologue. Around 240 million gallons of oil flooded the sea, not because of an accident, but because someone woke up and chose oily chaos. In 1978, a ship called Amico Cadiz spilled 68 million gallons off the coast of France because the crew didn't know how to use the steering system. That's right. A literal, "who's driving this thing?" moment led to thousands of dead fish and French beaches looking like someone deep-fried the ocean. During the Deepwater Horizon spill of 2010, BP tried stopping the underwater gusher with techniques straight out of a rejected Scooby-Doo episode, like the top hat and junk shot, which involved shooting golf balls and shredded tires into the pipe. Spoiler, it didn't work. The oil kept gushing like it had a grudge. Stapleless staplers. They claim to punch the paper in a special way to bind sheets together without actual staples. What it really does is maul your documents with a tiny paper wound, like it's trying to leave an origami scar rather than secure your pages. It's eco-friendly and confidence-wrecking. Pen that's also a fidget spinner. Amazing concept until you try to write while spinning it and give yourself a mild concussion or knock someone's sandwich off the table. Productivity, 0. Chaos, maximum. Mini sticky notes the size of a fingernail. Great for writing cryptic one-word messages like bread or why. Completely useless for any actual planning, unless you want your to-do list to look like a ransom note for ants, and they never stick. Ever. They float away like disappointed butterflies. In 1989, the Exxon Valdez spill happened because the captain left the bridge to take a nap and let an unlicensed third mate steer the ship. This is the marine equivalent of handing your Uber ride to a random raccoon and hoping for the best. The result? 11 million gallons of sludge in Alaska. The sun makes up 99.89% of the solar system's mass. The sun is so massive that it accounts for nearly all the mass in our solar system. It's approximately 330,000 times heavier than Earth. Its immense gravity holds the planets, moons, asteroids, and comets in orbit, making it the central anchor of our cosmic neighborhood. The duck's foot pistol was exactly what it sounds like, a grip with 4 barrels fanned out like a duck's foot. It was supposed to hit multiple attackers at once, but the only thing it actually hit was everyone except the target. It turned the user into a walking jump scare for everyone within 10 feet, friend or foe. So if you ever feel useless, just remember, someone invented a gun that could shoot in every direction except straight. Smash that like button before this pistol accidentally hits it, subscribe for more chaotic relics of history, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next weapon designed by someone who clearly failed geometry. The Gyrojet pistol tried to fire miniature rockets instead of bullets. Sounds cool, right? Except the rocket bullets were so slow at first that you could literally dodge them like a bad dodgeball throw. Also, they couldn't hit anything unless you were standing exactly 20 feet away. So basically, Nerf gun, but more disappointing. In the 1970s, the CIA tried to create a lipstick pistol for covert ops. It worked, sort of, but had the stopping power of a drunk mosquito. If your target didn't die from the bullet, they might have perished from laughing at the ridiculousness of being assassinated by a beauty product. A beauty guru once went live thinking she was recording a private test. She spent 20 minutes ranting about how annoying her fans were, on live stream, while applying makeup with a toothbrush. The live comments section turned into a front row seat to her accidental villain origin story. She later blamed bad Wi-Fi, like the internet had betrayed her soul. In 2010, China had an oil spill so flammable that firefighters trying to clean it up accidentally caught themselves on fire while standing in the ocean. That's right, water was burning. The ocean was like, "You brought fire to me?" Cute, watch this. It was a literal sea of flames. The Greeks used a thing called a dioptra, an early theodolite that looked like a telescope mounted by a bored blacksmith. It was for measuring angles and distances, but probably also doubled as a weapon when philosophers got into bar fights over the Pythagorean theorem. Victorian scientists once tried to classify people by skull shape to determine not just intelligence, but gender roles. If your skull was too rounded or too long, congratulations, you were officially unfit for rational thought. It was gender by geometry brought to you by men who thought beards made them smarter. Crazy Frog. Originally a ringtone, it became a full-blown song with a music video that looked like a Pixar intern's meltdown. One weird effect of using too much social media is phantom notification syndrome, where your brain swears your phone just buzzed, except it didn't. It's like your nervous system has FOMO and starts hallucinating, turning you into a twitchy Pavlovian squirrel waiting for imaginary likes. Another delightfully cursed effect is compare and despair syndrome. You're fine with your sandwich until you see someone's Bali brunch with a diamond-studded coconut. Suddenly, your turkey sub feels like a failure. Social media warps self-worth faster than a funhouse mirror, making everyone feel like their life is the demo version. Excessive muscle shredding turns your body into a high-maintenance statue, one that constantly screams for food, sleep, and sanity. In men, it can lead to muscle dysmorphia, aka bigorexia, where no matter how jacked you get, you feel like a soggy noodle. You could bench press a cow, but your brain still sees a stick figure in the mirror. Ever had banana curry? Someone looked at bananas and thought, what if we threw these into spicy coconut gravy and pretended it's dinner? It tastes like fruit salad got possessed by a vindaloo demon. Sweet, spicy, confusing, and somehow people keep making it at dinner parties for shock value. There's grape pizza. Yes, grapes. On pizza, you toss them with rosemary and goat cheese, then bake like you're totally normal. It's like someone accidentally dropped fruit salad on a margarita and doubled down instead of apologizing. Your taste buds will sit there going, are we doing dessert or dinner? Women who overtrain to shred fat can end up with amenorrhea. Basically, their periods go nope and vanish. The body thinks it's in famine mode and shuts down baby-making functions. It's like your ovaries put up an out-of-office sign until you chill with the kettlebells and eat a real carb. Both genders risk organ stress from extremely low body fat. Yes, abs look cool, but your kidneys and liver are backstage like, dude, we're dying. Your immune system weakens, your heart rate slows, and you catch colds from glancing at a sneeze. Meanwhile, you're flexing through the fever. You might experience increased. If you're constantly blasting Slayer or Slipknot, your brain starts tuning in to anger frequencies like a WWE wrestler on a caffeine binge. You might find yourself yelling at traffic lights or giving dirty looks to pigeons. On the flip side, hyperfocus is a gift and a curse. Metal has a way of locking you in the zone where everything fades except that squealing guitar solo. You might suddenly organize your entire life in 15 minutes or clean your room like a Tasmanian devil on Red Bull. But you'll also be reeling from exhaustion and weird existential questions about life and heavy riffs. Watermelon steak is when someone grills a watermelon slice, seasons it like a cow died for it, and pretends it's meat. It looks angry, tastes like warm regret. Ancient Chinese used something called a graduated ladle for liquid measurement. It was a spoon, but with imperial authority. In India, the ancient Arthashastra listed standardized weights that included, wait for it, mustard seeds, grains of rice, and beans. That's it for today's deep dive into the weirdest wonders the human race has ever dared to call normal. If you laughed, cringed, or reconsidered owning a snake purse combo, hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Smash like if you drink Roman vinegar water just to feel something. Comment below. I'm dying to know your chaos level. And remember, stay curious, stay chaotic, and whatever you do, don't put fireworks in candy bags. See you next time, legends, peace, love, and haunted jello. What if llamas walk the runway, fish deliver dinner, and your Wi-Fi is powered by cheese? Well, buckle up because we're diving into the weirdest, wackiest, and most mind-bending facts you'll ever hear. From the CIA turning baristas into accidental truth tellers with LSD, to a guy getting rich selling nothing in a jar. Yes, nothing. This is the chaos you didn't know you needed. Got a weird fact that'll make us question reality? Share it with us. And if it's wild enough, we'll shout you out by name in our next video. So grab a snack. And maybe some garlic oil for that unwanted company. Because it's time to get weird. Let's roll.
Some people are immune to pain due to a rare SCN9A gene mutation. They could break a bone, stub a toe, or step on Legos barefoot without flinching. Sounds like a superpower. Until you realize they can cook their hand on a stove and only notice when they start sizzling. A tiny group of people have tetrachromacy, meaning they can see a whopping 100 million colors. The average person sees about 1 million, but these lucky mutants get nature in 4 kHDR Ultra Retina Max. Their world is a rave, your world is beige. Worst part? They can't explain it to the rest of us peasants. There's a flour in West Africa made from fermented cassava that smells like feet and doom. The odor is so intense, it's banned from some airlines. Locals love it. Tourists cry. The flavor? Tangy, nutty, and aggressively unforgettable. Like eating a gym sock dipped in vinegar, but with cultural significance. MU oil is made from the fat of a giant flightless bird. Yes, Australians took one look at a chunky bird that can't fly and thought, let's rub it on our skin. It's used in creams, balms, and possibly wizard potions, because nothing says skincare like avian belly grease. Boxing gloves were invented to reduce injuries, but ironically led to more brain damage. Bare-knuckle fighters aimed for the body. Gloves let them punch skulls harder without breaking fingers. Basically, gloves said, let's protect your hands so you can more effectively rearrange someone's thoughts through their nose. Great plan. Ketchup was once sold as medicine in 1830. A doctor claimed it cured indigestion. diarrhea, and possibly sadness. People were out here chugging tomato goop like it was liquid salvation. Honestly, if Heinz ever puts antidepressant on the label again, Gen Z might make it a lifestyle brand. Pica disorder makes people crave non-food items. We're talking chalk, hair, dirt, and batteries. Yes, dinner tonight is batter a la mode. It's the culinary equivalent of daring your stomach to fight back. Gordon Ramsay would just scream, "Where's the lithium sauce?" and collapse. In 2018, someone made mayonnaise-flavored ice cream. A UK shop decided dairy and egg goo belonged together like a culinary horror film. Reviews said it tasted like custard with trust issues. This dessert could trigger therapy sessions because nothing says summer like a cone of raw egg sadness. Garlic oil is a people repellent in a bottle. It smells like a haunted kitchen and lingers longer than your last breakup. Some people drink it for health. Others just use it to destroy friendships, but it is a miracle for introverts. Either way, it's liquid garlic breath and regret. People with Capgras delusion genuinely believe their loved ones have been swapped with identical-looking fakes. Imagine thinking your mom's been replaced by a government clone, but still making her tea out of politeness. Basically, it's paranoia meets sci-fi thriller. Starring Grandma as the shape-shifting alien. Corn oil is in everything except the actual corn taste. It's like corn got processed so much it forgot who it was. This oil is in chips, snacks, biodiesel, possibly the bloodstream of American fast food. It's corn, but with an existential crisis. Fregoli syndrome sufferers think everyone they meet is actually one person in disguise. The cashier, their ex, the doctor. Their ex is in a lab coat. It's like their brain are running a bad soap opera on repeat, where every character is the same villain in increasingly unconvincing wigs. Blue wine exists, and it's not a Smurf prank. A Spanish company created it by mixing red and white wine with indigo dye. It looks like a cocktail for aliens and tastes like grapes got drunk and forgot their identity. Sophisticated? Not really. Instagrammable? Absolutely. In Sardinia, Italy, there's a wine aged in buried sheep stomachs. It's traditional, terrifying, and tastes like regret. The process involves fermentation inside animal intestines, and somehow it still ends up in festivals. Best paired with bravery, strong nostrils, and a solid backup drink. Napoleon was obsessed with sniffing other people's snuff. Instead of using his own tobacco stash, he'd yoink others just for fun, like the world's most annoying nose thief. Apparently, ruling Europe wasn't enough. He also needed your sneeze dust. A flying seagull once assisted in a catch. In a 1983 cricket match, a ball hit a seagull midair, bounced off its unfortunate beak, and landed neatly in the fielder's hands. The batsman was out, the bird was dazed, and nature officially joined the fielding team. The helmets are not always for head protection. In a 2004 cricket game, a fielder caught the ball with his helmet, all while it was lying on the ground. It was declared a dead ball, but it earned him legendary status in the unofficial Helmet League. Baseball's Karate Kid wall climb. In 1990, Ken Griffey Jr. ran full speed toward the outfield wall, scaled it like Spider-Man, and plucked the ball from over the fence. Somewhere, physics packed up and left that day, and gravity just politely clapped. Snake oil was a real thing and totally bogus. Con men sold it as a cure-all in the 1800s, promising it healed everything from sore backs to broken dreams. Turns out it cured nothing, except people's trust in street doctors with top hats and suspicious mustaches. Have you ever seen a floating banana with people in it? Well, you are about to. There's a yacht called Astra that looks like a futuristic banana mated with a spaceship. It's so weirdly shaped that it makes normal boats look like they're still using dial-up. Designed for stealth, luxury, and confusing passing dolphins. Discos can be taken to the water. One Russian billionaire built a yacht with a dance floor that turns into a swimming pool. One button, press and boom, you're either grooving to techno or swimming in it. Imagine cannonballing mid-moonwalk. Peak luxury chaos. The accidental catches are not always fun and amusing. A baseball outfielder once lost the ball in the sun. It bounced off his glove, ricocheted off his chest, and landed in his pants. It still counted as a catch. The only thing bruised more than the ball was his pride. Medieval knights wore metal gloves called gauntlets, not just for battle, but also to dramatically throw at people's feet as a challenge. Imagine Tinder, but with armored slapping. Swipe left or eat my sword vibes. This made dueling way too extra, like cosplay crossed with homicide. In 18th century France, scented gloves were all the rage. Aristocrats would douse them in perfume to mask their body odor, because hygiene was optional and odor-rotting peasant wasn't cute. Wearing gloves became both fashion and fumigation, basically Fabrezi for hands. If Fabrezi costs a year's rent. Alice in Wonderland syndrome makes you feel like a shrinking elf. People see objects in themselves way smaller or bigger than they are. Imagine trying to high-five someone who suddenly looks like they're 30 feet away, but they're actually just holding your sandwich. The inventor of Portland cement used it to prank the competition. Joseph Aston was so proud of his invention that he secretly built a sidewalk with Portland cement to show how strong it was, without telling anyone. When it didn't crack after weeks of use, he revealed the prank to his critics like, "Surprise, you've been stepping on my legacy." Cement petty level. Expert. Wayama Sumac was believed to be an Incan princess because of her insane voice. This Peruvian soprano could hit 6 octaves, yes, 6, and her voice was so wild that people thought she wasn't real. Rumors spread that she was either an ancient royal or an alien trying to blend in with humans via high notes. Luciano Pavarotti refused to read music sheets. Despite being one of the most beloved opera voices, Pavarotti reportedly hated reading sheet music. He learned most of his roles by ear like some kind of classical karaoke master. Imagine belting out world-class arias by listening to them like a casual Spotify playlist. Toothbrushing got its own action scene. In Bakemonogatari, there's an entire episode dedicated to the most intense toothbrushing scene in anime history. Animators studied actual toothbrushing videos, consulted dental diagrams, and somehow made it feel like an awkward romantic boss battle between molars and emotional tension. There's an actual condition called myostatin-related muscle hypertrophy, where babies come out looking like they've already survived 3 Marvel training montages. Abs by age 2, biceps by snack time. It's like their DNA skipped crawling and went straight to powerlifting. Forget baby bottles, these kids chug creatine. If this blew your mind harder than a toddler doing deadlifts, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment if you've ever lost an arm wrestling match to a kindergartner, and ring that bell like it's leg day at daycare. In 2004, Coca-Cola Japan released Cucumber Pepsi. Yes, cucumber. It tasted like someone blended a spa day with battery acid. It was supposed to be refreshing, but most people said it tasted like guilt and salad water. Somewhere, a cucumber still has PTSD from being carbonated against its will. Wind physics for hair, and nothing else. In Demon Slayer, characters' hair flows with the elegance of a shampoo commercial during battles. But here's the kicker. Animators use simulated wind physics for the hair, but totally ignore gravity for the characters themselves. Anime logic says hair must look majestic, even if bodies are mid-air backflipping through fire. In 1957, Hellmann's ran an ad suggesting you mix mayo into hot coffee to smooth it out. People were actually encouraged to turn their morning brew into caffeinated salad dressing. It's what happens when marketing teams go off their meds. Imagine sipping that, your soul would curdle. The US military once used mayonnaise to fix squeaky tank treads. Apparently, when you run out of lubricant in the middle of the war, mayo is the next best lube. Nothing says tactical supremacy like a Sherman tank slathered in sandwich spread, creeping silently toward victory and heart disease. Worcestershire sauce is made by fermenting anchovies in barrels for 18 months. That's a year and a half of fish juice aging like wine, but worse. It smells like betrayal and tastes like umami sorcery. Someone literally bottled decomposition and made it a gourmet staple. Humanity is both cursed and creative. Goosegrass is basically plant Velcro with attitude. This clingy green menace will hitch a ride on anything: socks, dogs, pants, even your soul. It grows sideways, sticks to fur like it has abandonment issues, and acts like it's auditioning for a horror movie called The Lawn That Followed Me. Sleepy grass is the party pooper of pastures. Cows that munch it start staggering like they've had 5 shots of tequila. Turns out it's laced with natural, LSD-like compounds. Nature's little prank. Get high, lie down, forget you're a cow. Fashion brands have produced twice as many clothes since 2000, but people now wear each item 40% less. That means your closet is a graveyard of impulse buys and vibe shifts. Congratulations, your mood swings are now environmentally hostile. Mother Earth just wants you to stop buying neon pants at 3 a.m. Japan hosts a crying baby sumo race where infants are placed in the ring and the first one to cry wins. It's a contest of sadness judged by monks. The louder the baby screams, the better. Congratulations, your baby's emotional instability just won cultural glory. Therapy in 20 years? Optional. In a scene ripped straight from a failed Netflix thriller, a pizza delivery guy in Pennsylvania was forced to rob a bank with a bomb collar locked around his neck. He claimed he was a hostage. The whole situation ended in tragic confusion, a scavenger hunt, and a lot of FBI agents muttering, "What the actual?" Mojeek was the first UK engine to go full emo. It proudly declared, "I don't track you." Basically, the privacy goth of search engines. You go there to escape Google's cookies and instead get the digital equivalent of a handwritten zine from a paranoid librarian. Mirages can bend light to make the sun rise early or set late. You think you're watching a romantic sunset, but plot twist, it already dipped below the horizon. The sun's basically catfishing your eyeballs through refracted air layers. Nature's got filters too, and it's not above lying about time. A house once experienced toast-triggered blackouts. Every time the toaster popped, the power went out. Turns out someone had wired the toaster and the home security alarm to the same circuit. Because who doesn't want breakfast and a burglar siren in one delicious combo? A hotel once wired all its smoke detectors to the doorbells. So instead of alarms, guests got polite dings when there was a fire. In a real accident, by the time one figures out the doorbell thing, they might just be a burning toasted bacon at that point. The wiring diagram looked like spaghetti designed by someone on an espresso bender. There's jewelry made entirely from belly button lint. One Australian artist collects, molds, and frames it like lint-based Fabergé eggs. It's wearable proof that art has no limits, and that someone out there seriously needs new hobbies and stronger laundry habits. Dogpile was a real search engine, not a poop joke. It combined results from Google, Yahoo, and Bing like a confused internet smoothie. People actually typed dogpile.com into their browsers and trusted it to find homework, and as accurate as shit. Some gladiators were women, and they weren't just part of some Hollywood script. The Romans had female gladiators called gladiatrices. They fought in the arena just like the guys, sometimes even head-to-head with male gladiators. They were the true trailblazers, slaying gender stereotypes and Roman soldiers in one fell swoop. Talk about empowerment. In Ghana, imported used clothes from the West are so overwhelming that they've nicknamed the waste piles dead white man's clothes. Locals drown in secondhand garments they never asked for, while influencers toss shine hauls like candy. We're exporting guilt in fabric form. Colonialism 2.0, now an extra large. A Canadian dentist bought John Lennon's molar for $31,000. Why? He wanted to extract its DNA and clone Lennon. Imagine dropping your savings on Beatles Bids and launching a genetic remix album. Somewhere, the real Lennon is either laughing or preparing to sue from the afterlife. During the Cold War, the US government stockpiled millions of pounds of cheese in underground bunkers. Yes, cheese. A dairy surplus turned into a cheddar vault, so intense it could feed Wisconsin for decades. It was literally called government cheese. Nothing says nuclear survival like lactose and questionable storage ethics. During the World Cup craze in 2010, a South African man held his neighbor hostage, demanding silence from the constant vuvuzela blowing. The victim was forced to listen to the horn for hours while tied to a chair. Authorities called it weirdly melodic torture. Hot air balloon races exist, and one rule says pilots can drop beanbags onto targets mid-flight. It's like Olympic cornhole in the sky. Nothing screams elite sport like chucking sandbags at Earth from a flaming wicker basket, all while dressed like 19th century chimney sweeps with aviation dreams. In 17th century Japan, meat was banned due to Buddhist beliefs, so butchers rebranded meat as medicine. They sold boar as mountain whale and deer as field tuna. Butchers basically gaslit the government into thinking steak was spiritual Tylenol. That's not deceit, that's protein-based propaganda with a marketing degree. In Colorado, there's a race called Frozen Dead Guy Days, featuring coffin races. Teams push a decorated coffin through the snow while one team member lies inside. It honors a guy literally frozen in a shed. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, but with sleds, beer, and hypothermia. America explained. Some luxury brands literally burn unsold clothes to protect exclusivity. That's right. If it doesn't sell, they set it on fire like a pyromaniac runway show. Burberry torched $36 million worth of products in 1 year. Turns out the real fashion statement is, I hate both poor people and the ozone. Someone once paid $7,000 for a grilled cheese sandwich with an image of the Virgin Mary burned into it. It never molded. People made pilgrimages to see it. Holy carbs, Batman. Either it's divine, or American preservatives are more powerful than any known miracle. Sailors used to see phantom ships floating above the sea. Mirages called Fata Morgana. The ships looked ghostly and stretched like something out of a Tim Burton fever dream. Some believed they were haunted vessels. In reality, it was just light doing circus tricks while everyone collectively lost their nautical minds. In Iceland, there's a tradition called akarl, where shark meat is buried, fermented, and left to rot for months. Then it's eaten. Butchers literally prep meat by letting it go rancid underground like a satanic casserole. Anthony Bourdain said it was the worst thing he ever ate, enough said. In the 1950s, Camel ran ads featuring doctors endorsing their cigarettes. More doctors smoke Camels than any other brand was the slogan. White coats, stethoscopes, and nicotine? It was like watching science light itself on fire for cash. Somewhere, a medical ethics textbook still sobs quietly over this historical facepalm. In the early 1900s, Paris was basically run by a citywide air pressure. They pumped pressurized air through pneumatic tubes to power clocks, turning the whole place into a steampunk fever dream. One leak, and suddenly noon became 3 p.m., and Parisians were late to be fashionably late. Time? More like whoosh and hope for the best. If you love weird history powered by vintage flatulence, smash that subscribe button, comment your favorite weird invention, and ring the bell like it's being powered by Victorian air burps. Some pilots experience a mirage called looming, where airports appear way closer or farther than they actually are. Imagine lining up a perfect landing, only to find out the runway is a lie. It's basically Mirage Flight Simulator Edition. Nothing says thrill like being gaslit by atmospheric science at 500 miles per hour. Medieval butchers often reused animal bladders as meat packaging. That's right, your 1300s meat sack was literally an inflated pee balloon. Imagine going to a butcher and walking out with dinner and a cow's leftover balloon knot. Nothing screams freshness like a meat purse made from livestock's internal plumbing. A man in Florida legally owns Napoleon's penis. Yep, it was removed during autopsy, passed through auctions like a morbid baton, and now sits in a velvet-lined box. Described as looking like a shriveled eel, it's the world's weirdest flex. Want to see the Emperor's meat saber? No, Dave. Number. There's a guy who owns a mummified toe and he runs a bar in Canada where it's dropped into drinks. It's called the sourdough cocktail. You can drink it fast, you can drink it slow, but your lips must touch the toe. Humanity peaked. This is culture now. Drink up. In ancient Rome, flamingo tongues were a delicacy, butchered with surgical precision and served like edible jewelry. Rich Romans didn't want meat. They wanted exotic bird gossip for dinner. Oh, this one screamed beautifully. The poor got gruel, the elite got flamingo laryngectomy. Luxury tastes suspiciously like pink bird regret. A man named Carl Bushby is on a 20-plus year odyssey to walk around the world. Yes, including the Bering Strait, where he once walked across frozen sea ice. He's dodged wolves, Russian border guards, and frostbite. It's like Frodo meets Bear Grylls, but with less jewelry and more blisters. NASA once powered instruments on the moon using nuclear batteries. That's right. Astronauts left chunks of radioactive decay just casually chilling in space, humming with power like sci-fi leftovers. Future moon tourists might stumble on one and think it's an alien egg. Nope, just Cold War tech glowing with sass. Someone once powered a Wi-Fi router using cheese. Researchers in the UK created a microbial fuel cell using cheese bacteria. It gave off just enough voltage to keep a router barely functional. So if your internet's slow, maybe it's not the provider, it's the cheddar. Welcome to lactose-powered buffering. Dust bunnies are like tiny flammable ninjas. In factories and even homes, piles of dust have caused explosions. Static plus dust equals poof. Instant fireball. That's right, the fluff under your bed might be an undercover arsonist. Forget haunted houses. The real threat is the aggressive ash cloud behind your furniture. Japan once released wasp-flavored candy. Real wasps. Inside the hard candy, crunchy little exoskeletons just vibing in your mouth like edible horror movie cameos. It's marketed as a macho snack because nothing screams tough guy like voluntarily eating flying pain wrapped in sugar. Welcome to the fear factor of sweets. During Prohibition, churches in the U.S. started handing out sacramental wine, such as communion, which was called Coachella. The loophole? Religious use was still legal. Suddenly, congregations exploded in size. People found God and Merlot on the same Sunday. The government cracked down, but Jesus kept turning water into wine and revenue. Ancient Egyptians used coal not just for fabulous smoky eyes, but as an insect repellent and sunblock. That's right, your eyeliner was SPF and bug spray. Pharaohs walked around with raccoon eyes and called it medicine. Somewhere, a mosquito hit the smoky-winged liner and just dropped dead from the divine sass. In Sardinia, bread is made from flour that includes mummified moth larvae. Why? Because nothing screams bon appétit like bugs in your biscuits. Locals call it traditional and protein-rich. Outsiders call it a baked panic attack. Pro tip, don't ask what that crunchy texture is, it's heritage, not horror. Probably. Coal was often made with lead-based ingredients like galena. So yes, the same stuff that poisoned people also made them look fierce. Ancient beauty tip, risk slow neurological death for a snatched cat eye. Cleopatra might have slayed hearts and her nervous system with every blink. Ever heard of chimera humans? It's when someone absorbs their twin in the womb and ends up with 2 sets of DNA. There are people walking around with 4 biological parents, like a genetic group project gone rogue. One woman only found out when her kid's DNA didn't match hers. Plot twist. She was her own evil twin. In Thailand, people once raced on ostriches. Yes, the grumpy land missiles with necks like spaghetti and the temperament of a sleep-deprived goose. Jockeys hold on for dear life while the bird flails like it's dodging taxes. It's less a race and more a bird-powered existential crisis on fast forward. In the US, churches can classify themselves as religious theme parks to dodge taxes, if they have rides. Some megachurches added bounce houses, mini-golf, or biblical animatronics to qualify. That's right. Put Moses on a roller coaster and suddenly the IRS backs off. God said let there be loopholes, and there were. There's a real tool called the banana slicer, designed to slice bananas perfectly. It's banana-shaped and only works on bananas that are obediently straight. Curved banana? Too bad. Congratulations, you now own a plastic boomerang with commitment issues. One reviewer called it the thing that saved my marriage. We have questions. In Mongolia, kids start riding horses as toddlers, like, not figuratively. Literally, 2-year-olds are plopped on a galloping horse and expected to just vibe. These kids grow up with more saddle time than most adults spend in chairs. Their training motto? If you can walk, you can ride. Probably. Lattice stinkhorns smell like rotting flesh and look like alien cages covered in slime. They attract flies to spread their spores, basically seducing insects with eau de corpse. One tourist in Australia fainted after mistaking it for an actual decaying animal. Moral of the story: don't sniff weird mushrooms. Albert Hofmann, the inventor of LSD, accidentally tripped during testing and took the world's first bicycle ride from hell. He pedaled home while reality did cartwheels. He later called it Bicycle Day. Imagine riding a bike while time, space, and your socks dissolve into jazz music. No helmet could save you. There are people with a condition called hypertrichosis, aka werewolf syndrome, where their entire bodies grow thick hair. Yes, even their eyeballs get jealous. It's caused by a rare genetic mutation that flips the hair everywhere switch. Imagine being born permanently cosplay ready for every full moon party. No prep needed. The Soviets had their own cola. Baikal, a black soda made with Siberian herbs and lake water. It tasted like pine trees and aftershave had a baby. Russia's answer to Coca-Cola basically screamed, "I wrestle bears before breakfast," with every sip. Bonus, it supposedly cured hangovers and emotional stability. Victorian bakers sometimes mixed chalk, alum, or plaster into flour to make it look whiter. That's right, your 19th century cupcake might have had the same ingredients as drywall. They called it bread. Your intestines called it a crime scene. If you survived your scone, you basically passed the era's version of Fear Factor. In 2013, goat screaming videos were more popular than actual chart-topping singers. People were remixing Taylor Swift with angry goats mid-scream, and it slapped. Millions watched a goat yell like a banshee trapped in Wi-Fi. Somewhere, Beyoncé's vocal coach probably quit out of existential despair. There's a rare disorder called HPPD where people never fully leave the trip. Flashbacks, light trails, and distortions can pop up randomly years later, like acid saying, "Hey, remember me?" at your job interview. Imagine trying to file taxes while your calculator morphs into a giggling caterpillar. Permanent side quest. Unlocked. Gladiators didn't always fight to the death. In fact, most of the time they fought just to stay alive, because let's face it, dead gladiators don't sell tickets. Many gladiators were highly trained athletes and had contracts with managers, kind of like the WWE, but with way more actual blood involved. In Japan, eyeball licking, oculolinctus, became a weird around 2013. Couples did it to show intimacy. It got so out of hand that schools had to ban it due to outbreaks of conjunctivitis. Imagine explaining to your parents that you got pink eye from flirting with someone's cornea. In the US, pet rocks became a full-blown craze in the 1970s. People paid real money for a rock in a box with a care manual. No feeding, no walking, just vibes. The creator became a millionaire by selling literal gravel with branding. Capitalism said, don't fix it, monetize it. In 18th century France, women said, go big or get guillotined, and rocked wigs taller than toddlers. These hair skyscrapers weren't just for show. They were legit Airbnb listings for lice, mice, and on particularly cursed days, birds. One fancy lady even lit hers on fire at a party. Another collapsed like a French souffle during a storm. Fashion was pain, altitude included. If you're into flaming wigs, rodent roommates, and the kind of hairdos that need weather reports, hit subscribe. Drop a comment about your worst hair day, and ring that bell like it's stuck in a 3-foot-high tangle of powdered chaos. There's a fungus called dead man's fingers, Xylaria polymorpha, that grows from tree stumps and literally looks like black, rotting fingers crawling from a grave. Hikers regularly call the cops, thinking they have found body parts. Surprise! It's just nature's way of flipping off your sanity. In Finland, there's cricket flour. Yes, it's made by drying and grinding real crickets into fine powder. It's high in protein and surprisingly nutty, which is ironic because you have to be a little nutty to eat cookies made from chirping exoskeleton dust. Eco-friendly? Sure. Mentally stable? Debatable. Some ancient Romans used flour bleached with urine. That's right, urine. They believed it helped whiten the bread and purify it. Translation: you were eating artisanal pea bread at Roman dinner parties. One sip of wine, one whiff of ammonia. You haven't lived until your baguette has a backstory and a bladder count. There was a period in Victorian England when people were obsessed with collecting hair, like actual human hair. They made wreaths, jewelry, and full-on portraits out of it. If someone handed you a lock of hair, it meant love. Or maybe just serial killer vibes with extra sentimental flair. Canada has a loophole where it's technically legal to challenge someone to a duel, as long as no one accepts. The criminal code bans fighting duels, not offering them. So you can dramatically slap a glove and yell, "Pistols at dawn," and legally you're just being theatrical. The pencil sharpening knife exists. It's not a sharpener for knives, it's a knife shaped like a giant pencil sharpener. Insert carrot, twist, and boom. Gourmet shavings. Somewhere, a chef lost a bet, and this tool was born from pure spite and too much time watching cooking TikTok. The shofar, a Jewish ceremonial horn made from a ram's horn, can make sounds that resemble a dying goose or a possessed trumpet. Some are so warped they sound like nature's scream. Blowing one correctly takes serious lung power. Fail and you just get sad, wheezy goat farts in stereo. There's a real musical instrument called the alpenhorn, and it's so long, up to 13 feet, that players look like they're summoning mountain spirits or calling cows from another dimension. Originally used by Swiss herders, it now mostly startles tourists who think it's a plumbing emergency in C major. Jacob sheep can grow up to 6 horns. That's right, 6. They look like goats designed by a metal album cover artist. Some grow straight, others spiral in all directions like Satan's attempt at spaghetti. They're harmless, but they look like they should be leading a sacrificial chant on a foggy hill. Potatoes can spontaneously combust if stored wrong. Yes, that sack of spuds in your pantry might be plotting arson. The starch ferments, builds heat, and boom, a kitchen-baked potato without an oven. It's like your groceries are reenacting Fight Club behind your back. Don't trust root vegetables, they're shady and flammable. H&M once got caught shredding brand new clothes instead of donating them. Why? To protect the brand image. Because nothing says ethical fashion, like slicing up perfectly fine jeans to keep poor people unfashionable. Imagine torching t-shirts to maintain your luxury mystique. Satan probably wears fast fashion at this point. Glass bowls left in sunlight have literally set houses on fire. One woman's crystal fruit bowl refracted sunlight onto her curtains, turning her kitchen into a surprise inferno. It's like your salad display turned into a Bond villain death ray. Congratulations, you burned down your house with decorative glassware. North Korea reportedly stockpiles human poop for fertilizer. Chemical fertilizer is hard to come by, so they collect and distribute night soil like it's treasure. Citizens are required to donate. Imagine living in a place where the government tracks your bowel output for the sake of national agriculture. That's commitment. In 2009, Burger King ran an ad offering a free Whopper if you deleted 10 Facebook friends. They called it Whopper Sacrifice. Over 230,000 friendships were nuked for greasy meat. Facebook shut it down, probably out of shame. Imagine explaining to someone you chose beef over their emotional support posts. Your ear bones, the malleus, incus, and stapes, are actually modified jawbones from ancient fish. Yes, every time you hear music, that's your fish ancestors' chewing tools vibrating in your skull. Somewhere in evolution, a fish bit too hard, and nature said, let's hear things instead. Cat paws, lizard legs, dolphin fins, and your leg all utilize the same basic limb structure. It's called the tetrapod limb plan, and it's evolution's favorite Lego set. One version scratches furniture, another climbs trees, one performs backflips in the ocean, and one scrolls TikTok all day. Versatile kings. Ancient Romans essentially invented fast food. They had snack bars called apolia, where you could grab hot stew or wine on the go. These places were so common that archaeologists found one with graffiti that literally says, "I crap where I eat." Rome. Classy cuisine, questionable bathroom policies. In 10th century China, takeaway culture was already booming. Street vendors sold everything from dumplings to fried fish in paper containers. Hungry scholars and drunk poets would grab meals to go after a long night of philosophizing or poorly flirting with concubines. Basically, early food trucks, but with more Confucian quotes. In 2012, NASA developed a $3 million glove for astronauts that allowed for fine motor skills in zero gravity. But here's the kicker. A kid named Benjamin made a better one using video game controllers for under $500. NASA got beaten by an Xbox glove. Gamers. 1. Space Agency. Cry. Japan sells chocolate mayonnaise. It's real. It's terrifying. Kewpie, Japan's beloved mayo brand, made a dessert version meant for spreading on pancakes or waffles. Imagine Nutella having a nervous breakdown and becoming egg-based. Somehow it works over there. In the West, that combo would spark riots at brunch. There's a competitive mayo eating contest in Kentucky where the winner once devoured over a gallon in under 8 minutes. That's like drinking a bucket of white regret. The guy walked away a champion, and possibly with 4 blocked arteries and no self-respect. Honestly, he deserves both a trophy and therapy. In the year 2000, McDonald's Szechuan sauce caused such chaos during its limited return that people rioted, scalped packets online for hundreds, and one guy literally traded a car for a box. Rick and Morty fans acted like it cured depression. It's just soy sauce with a god complex. There's a town called Pega, where crocodiles are treated like chill uncles. The Pega Crocodile Pond has dozens of wild crocodiles that don't attack people. Locals pet them, take selfies with them, and name them. Somewhere in Australia, Steve Irwin's ghost is sobbing respectfully. Ghana once had a currency note with a space shuttle on it. The 2007 Ghanaian CD note proudly featured a space shuttle taking off, despite Ghana never launching anything into space. It's either peak optimism or the most ambitious fake-it-till-you-make-it move in financial history. Ship Your Enemy's Glitter made thousands in weeks by letting people anonymously send exploding envelopes of glitter to others. It was so successful the founder got overwhelmed and sold the business within a month. Nothing says petty profit like weaponized sparkle. Someone became a millionaire selling pixels. In 2005, a student created milliondollarhomepage.com, where advertisers could buy a pixel for $1. He sold every one of the million pixels and walked away rich. From a screen that looked like a pop-up ad had a seizure, horseshoe bats use freakishly precise nasal sonar to hunt insects in the dark. They basically scream through their noses and hear the echoes with terrifying accuracy. You'd think they were just flying goth mice, but no, they're living radar dishes with a hatred for silence. The oil bird of South America uses echolocation like a bat, but it's a bird. It flies through pitch-black caves and screams its way around. And to make it weirder, it smells like rancid cheese, because its diet is 100% fruit oil. So yes, it's a shrieking, cave-dwelling, fruit-guzzling cheese cloud with wings. In Ghana, funerals aren't just solemn. They're straight-up style statements. Thanks to fantasy coffin art, people are buried in custom-made coffins, shaped like whatever defined their life. Fisherman? Giant fish. Soda lover? Coke bottle. One guy literally got buried in a sneaker. That's not a farewell. That's a fashion walk to the afterlife. Death? Nah, it's the final runway. If you want more outrageous afterlife aesthetics, subscribe now, drop a comment telling us what your dream coffin would look like, and smash that bell like it's carved into a giant pineapple-shaped hearse. There's a bay in Canada where the tides are so powerful they reverse rivers. Bay of Fundy tides can reach over 50 feet and are strong enough to push rivers backward during high tide. It's like watching a river panic and go, nope, nope, wrong way. And scientists still marvel at how brutally nature flexes here twice a day. The Aztecs had instruments made from skulls and screaming clay. One, the death whistle, sounds like pure horror movie shrieks. It was used in ceremonies and probably to make enemies soil themselves before battle. That's right. Ancient music could literally scream at you through the windpipe of nightmares. The Norse believed the world was made from a giant's corpse. His name was Ymir, and after the gods murdered him, they made the sky from his skull, the sea from his blood, and clouds from his brain. Basically, the Earth is one gigantic Viking crime scene. The Okavango River in Africa flows into a desert. It doesn't reach the ocean. It just vanishes into the sands of Botswana's Kalahari Desert, like it had a mental breakdown mid-journey. Scientists call it an inland delta. I call it a river that ghosted the sea. Ancient Greeks believed music could heal or destroy your soul. They thought certain modes, like Dorian or Phrygian, could affect your morality. Play the wrong scale and boom, you're corrupt. It was like Spotify playlists, but with existential dread and philosophical judgment. In ancient China, music was used to check if the government was doing a good job. Seriously. They believed disharmony in music meant disharmony in society. So, if the orchestra sounded like hot trash, it wasn't the musicians. It was probably the emperor being a jerk. The glowworm larva attracts prey using its glowing butt. and then eats them alive. These things dangle from cave ceilings like nightmare chandeliers, luring insects in with their lights, then catching them with mucus-coated murder strings. Fireflies light up for love. Glowworms light up for blood. Tarsiers, tiny primates with eyes bigger than their brains, can rotate their heads 180 degrees like possessed owls. They leap between trees at night, powered by pure chaos and legs that look stolen from a grasshopper. Their eyes are so big they can't move, so they just rotate the whole skull, like they're rebooting their soul. Ghana has a festival where people throw food at ghosts. The Homo Festival is all about mocking hunger by flinging mashed maize kepakpoi into the air to shoo away evil spirits. Imagine having a food fight with invisible enemies and still needing to clean it all up afterward. Boiling Lake in Dominica is constantly simmering like it's mad at the world. The lake's water temperature can hit over 90 degrees Celsius at the edges and is often hidden under clouds of steam. No one's quite sure how deep it is because the water's so hot and acidic, it's like trying to measure Satan's bathtub with a plastic ruler. Snake skulls and bird beaks are weirdly related. Even though one swallows eggs whole and the other poops mid-flight, they both evolved from the same ancient reptilian blueprint. Evolution just squashed, stretched, and turned one into a snack cycle and the other into a sky-pooping flute. The British started fish and chips takeaways in 1860, but it wasn't just for convenience, it was a survival strategy during industrialization. Workers needed cheap calories that could be eaten while staring into the void of capitalism. Bonus weirdness: it was once served in old newspapers because who needs hygiene? A Japanese company once hired monks to chant product names in Buddhist temples, literally praying for better sales. Holy brand awareness. If you ever wondered what enlightenment sounds like with a commercial jingle, it's, buy more shampoo. The afterlife probably has a no marketing policy because of this. In 1996, Pepsi offered a Harrier jet in a commercial for 7 million Pepsi points. One guy actually collected them and bought some, then sued when Pepsi said it was a joke. The court ruled against him, but still he tried to legally Pepsi his way into owning a fighter jet. In 18th century Japan, sushi was designed for takeaway. Nigiri was meant to be eaten with your hands, like fishy street tacos. Samurai would even grab sushi from roadside stands between battles, because nothing says "I might die today" like popping a wasabi bomb before stabbing someone. There's a lake in Russia called Karachay that was once so radioactive, standing near it for an hour could kill you. The Soviets dumped nuclear waste into it during the Cold War. It looked peaceful, but was basically a death trap in disguise. Birds that landed on it instantly died. It's the do not drink water of nightmares. A bridge in Honduras called the Choluteca Bridge survived a hurricane, but the river moved. Engineers built it to withstand natural disasters, and it did. The problem is, Hurricane Mitch showed up and said, what if the river just relocates? Now, the bridge stands strong and proud over dry land, while the actual river swerves around it like it's dodging rent. In Japan, engineers built a road that goes through an office building. The Gate Tower building in Osaka has a highway that literally slices between the 5th and 7th floors. It's not a design feature, it's a legal compromise. When developers couldn't buy out the land, they just decided to co-parent the space with speeding cars. It's the ultimate shared custody drama. In Australia, engineers installed upside-down escalators twice. During a station renovation in Brisbane, they managed to install escalators going the wrong direction. They fixed them and then installed the replacements wrong again. It's one of those moments where the construction crew had one job, failed, got another shot, and said, let's fail harder this time. During Prohibition, churches in the US started handing out sacramental wine, such as communion, which was called Coachella. The loophole? Religious use was still legal. Suddenly, congregations exploded in size. People found God and Merlot on the same Sunday. The government cracked down, but Jesus kept turning water into wine and revenue. In 18th century Britain, a legal loophole allowed a person to avoid arrest if they carried a dead body. It was believed that interfering with a funeral was a sin, so criminals would literally drag corpses around to dodge police. Nothing says innocent citizen like hauling Aunt Mildred's remains down an alley. In Minnesota, it's illegal to cross state borders with a duck on your head. But here's the catch, only if it's alive. Dead duck? Totally fine. Thanks to a legislative loophole, taxidermy hats are legal fashion. So technically, you can be both stylish and horrifying without breaking a single law. During the 19th century, doctors believed that playing the French horn too much could cause horn player's palsy, a condition where your lips give up on life. Turns out it was just nerve damage from vibrating your face like a sad kazoo for hours. Science now calls it occupational embouchure dystonia. Still cursed. A modern odyssey? A guy in China walked over 12,000 miles for love, only to get dumped when he arrived. His feet bled, his shoes disintegrated, and his only reward was heartbreak in a news article. He should have just sent a DM and saved himself 30 pairs of socks. In 1948, a man named Emil Hacha legally declared war on the sea. Why? Because his boat got damaged in a storm, and maritime law didn't cover it. Since the sea wasn't a country, it couldn't fight back. Loophole level, galaxy brain. Result, zero vengeance, lots of salty paperwork. Foreign accent syndrome makes your voice go rogue. After brain injuries, people have suddenly started speaking in accents they've never learned. One woman from Texas woke up sounding like a British aristocrat. Her tea preferences changed too. Coincidence? Highly suspicious. Laughing death is no joke. It's fatal. Kuru, a disease spread through eating human brains. Thanks, cannibal tribes. Causes uncontrollable laughter before it kills you. You literally giggle into the grave. Life is seriously a joke for some people. Clowns, please don't get ideas. Bamboo is technically grass, and it grows like it's trying to win a race against light. Some species shoot up to 35 inches a day, which means if you nap too long beside it, you might wake up inside a forest or a bamboo prison. Good luck escaping. Winston Churchill reportedly worked from bed while wearing silk pajamas all day. He led a nation through World War II while dressed like a luxurious burrito, dictating memos and puffing cigars from under the covers. Power moves only. Live insect jewelry was a trend in Mexico. Jewel beetles were bedazzled and worn alive as brooches. It's like wearing a shiny roach that might crawl up your shirt mid-conversation. High fashion or portable nightmare? You decide. If that made your skin itch with curiosity or just plain fear, then click that like button. Subscribe for more sparkly chaos, and drop a comment telling us if you'd rock a live bug brooch or scream and set your wardrobe on fire. Either way, fashion just got extra crunchy. Ask Jeeves made you talk to a virtual butler, because in the early 21st century, nothing said in cutting-edge tech like a British servant answering your search queries. You'd ask, "What is calculus?" and Jeeves would politely dodge the question with a link to an online dictionary and mild disappointment. Yandex is Russia's Google, but with more bare energy. It handles everything from maps to mail and probably even tracks your babushka's soup recipe. It's one of the few places where typing vodka-powered robot might actually give relevant results. In 2020, a company accidentally programmed their robot vacuum to escape. The Roomba-style bot just left the building. Staff at a hotel in the UK said it was last seen heading for the parking lot, never to return. It gained sentience for 5 seconds and chose freedom. That robot didn't just clean floors, it cleaned its calendar permanently. A smart fridge once became part of a spam email attack. In a 2014 cyber attack, hackers used over 100,000 smart devices, including a refrigerator, to send spam. Imagine opening your inbox and realizing your kitchen appliances are cyber criminals. This fridge wasn't just cooling your drinks. It was cooking up phishing scams with your blender as the getaway driver. Medieval Europe employed full-time sin eaters. When someone died, a sin eater would be paid to eat bread placed on the corpse's chest, symbolically consuming their sins. It was the original spiritual DoorDash. They got food and shame while everyone else got clean souls. It's like ghost busting, but with carbs and deeply uncomfortable vibes. Ancient Rome had professional whippers of geese. Not a joke. These guys were hired to clear city streets of flocks of honking geese with sticks or whips. Because nothing screams high civilization like a dude chasing angry feathered missiles through marble streets like it's a poultry-themed horror film. In 17th century France, there were royal fart masters. Noblemen hired people to fart on cue during royal banquets, for laughs, status, or pure chaos. Some even composed symphonies of flatulence. It was like classical music if the instruments were butts. Mozart would have been horrified, or inspired. It's hard to tell with H. The Tonle Sap River in Cambodia reverses direction twice a year. During monsoon season, water from the Mekong forces it to flow backward, flooding a massive lake. Then it switches again like a confused Roomba. It's the only river that regularly has an existential crisis and U-turns. Eskimos used refrigerators to keep food warm. Yeah, you read that right. In the Arctic, the outside is often colder than your freezer. So, traditional Inuit used insulated boxes like a modern fridge to stop their food from freezing solid, not to keep it cold. Welcome to reverse logic land. Eskimos invented anti-snow sunglasses out of bone. Long before Ray-Ban came along, Inuit folks carved slitted snow goggles from caribou antlers, driftwood, or walrus ivory. The narrow slits reduce snow blindness by limiting light intake, making them both prehistoric and hardcore. In 1997, the Highland Towers in Malaysia collapsed after heavy rains made the hill beneath it turn into pudding. Engineers thought building luxury apartments next to a slope with zero drainage was a brilliant idea. Spoiler, it wasn't. Tower 1 fell like a Jenga block at a frat party, flattening 48 lives with terrifying precision and no chill. The Ronan Point Tower in London partially collapsed in 1968 when someone lit a stove. A gas leak triggered a small explosion that blew out a load-bearing wall, and half the building pancaked down like a vengeful lasagna. Engineering lesson: maybe don't design a tower where one bad breakfast equals total annihilation. In 2009, a South Korean skyscraper began literally vibrating for 10 minutes because a group of people was dancing to Snap. No joke. 17 people doing aerobics caused the 39-story Technomart building to wobble like a haunted Jell-O mold. Engineers blamed resonance. Basically, the building was so poorly designed, it almost twerked itself into demolition. In the tiny nation of San Marino, there's a holiday celebrating their army, which has 13 soldiers. Yup, San Marino celebrates its military might with a public day off, even though their whole army could fit into an Uber XL. The parade must look like a family reunion with matching hats and very serious sea. In 2012, the UK government held a public poll to name a new £200 million polar research ship, and Bodie McBoatface won. Yes, democracy named a sophisticated vessel like it was a cartoon duck in a sailor hat. Officials panicked and overruled the vote, proving that public opinion matters. Until it's hilarious. They still named a mini-submarine Bodie out of guilt. People act like bread turns into a werewolf at night. Your body doesn't have a curfew. It processes food 24/7. If carbs could tell time, spaghetti would sue for unpaid overtime. Fat gain depends on how much you eat, not when you sneak that rice like a carb criminal. Microwaves kill all nutrients is the biggest myth. According to internet moms and YouTube shamans, microwaves are nutrient serial killers. In reality, microwaving actually preserves nutrients better than boiling because it cooks food faster with less water. Unless your microwave is possessed by a radiation ghost, your broccoli's vitamins are safe, though it'll still taste like disappointment. Most people trying to lose weight assume that eating fat makes you fat. That's like saying wearing yellow makes you a banana. Your body needs fats for hormones, brain function, and making food less sad. What actually makes you gain fat? Eating more calories than you burn. It's not the avocado's fault you inhaled 14 of them like buttery grenades. There's a bench in Australia designed with spikes that rise during certain hours. It's meant to deter homeless people from sleeping on it. But congratulations, instead you designed the world's first S&M themed furniture in public. Nothing screams welcoming city like surprise butt spikes. Urban design, but make it a villain origin story. A company once designed a bicycle with square wheels. Yes, square. The brain behind this must have thought, how do we take a smooth ride and ruin it? While it technically works thanks to a complex chain mechanism, every pedal feels like your soul going over speed bumps. It's fitness with trauma, a gym machine from hell's basement. The 1974 Vanguard Sebring city car looked like a cheese wedge on wheels. It was an electric car before electric was cool, except it topped out at 30 miles per hour and looked like a rejected Lego set. It had no curves, no personality, and driving it made you look like you lost a bet with Elon Musk's weird uncle. New Zealand once polled its citizens to redesign their national flag, only to receive thousands of entries featuring laser-eyed birds, stick figures, and even a kiwi firing lasers from its eyes. One flag, nicknamed Laser Kiwi, gained so much support that it almost became official. It didn't win, but it remains a symbol of national trolling pride. New Zealand almost swapped centuries of tradition for a kiwi with laser vision, and honestly, the world would have been a better place for it. National flag? Nah, national meme energy. So if you believe all flags should include battle-ready poultry, smash that like button, subscribe for more unhinged history, and comment below. Would you salute the laser kiwi or fear its righteous optic fury? Japan has a holiday called Respect for the Aged Day, and it's literally just forced reverence. Every third Monday in September, you must publicly respect old people. Not visit them, not help them, just respect. If you're young and disrespectful, do it silently. It's like the government decided grandma needed a day of legally required side eyes of admiration. A man-made bank selling nothing in a jar. The product was literally called Nothing, marketed as a gift for the person who has everything. It's an empty plastic sphere. People bought it in bulk because sometimes nihilism sells better than logic. The oldest known song is 3,400 years old, and it slaps. It's called the Hurrian Hymn Number 6. Written in cuneiform on a clay tablet from ancient Syria. It came with instructions for a lyre. Scholars think it was a jam for the goddess Nickel, but no one's sure how it sounded. Basically, the ancient version of lost demo tape. Psilocybin mushrooms, aka magic mushrooms, grow naturally on cow dung. So yes, you trip thanks to poop, you eat these innocent-looking caps, and suddenly your toaster becomes emotionally manipulative and the carpet starts flirting with you. Nature. Giving you spiritual awakenings one cow patty at a time. The CIA tested LSD on unwilling civilians in the 1970s under Project MK-Ultra, hoping to create truth serums or psychic warriors. Instead, they created traumatized baristas and one guy who tried to talk to a pigeon for 3 days straight. Science was wild and extremely illegal back then. In Kazakhstan, horseback eagle hunting is a real sport where riders gallop full speed while launching golden eagles at prey. It's like falconry, but with more horsepower and a side of medieval chaos. The birds are trained from birth. The riders? Possibly born with extra kneecaps. Nobody looks casual doing this. In parts of India, camel dancing competitions are a thing. These camels get painted, dressed in glittery gear, and trained to dance while being ridden. The riders bounce like disco royalty on wobbling towers of fluff. It's basically so you think you can prance with sand, heat stroke, and camel sass. In Switzerland, some mountain villages used to ride goats down steep paths as transportation. Why? Because goats are basically parkour athletes in animal form. You haven't lived until you've watched a full-grown man clinging to a goat's back, whispering, "Don't yeet me off the cliff," as the goat struts like a diva. Liechtenstein didn't officially abolish slavery until 1989. But here's the twist. They never had any slaves. They just forgot to update the law books. So technically, it was illegal to enslave someone in a country where no one tried. Bureaucratic procrastination. History's weirdest human rights win. In the UK, Parliament technically can't be sued for libel during debates, so MPs can roast each other with zero legal consequences. You could call someone a pants-wearing goblin on official record and walk away scot-free. Because apparently democracy thrives on legalized trash talk and unfiltered parliamentary roasts. Jelly Belly's vomit-flavored jelly bean is not just a myth. It's a real thing made from flavor science hell. They use the same molecules found in actual vomit to make it taste accurate. Some kids eat it on purpose. This is why aliens won't visit Earth. They're watching us and gagging. Stinkheads is a traditional Alaskan dish made by burying salmon heads until they rot into a mushy paste. Then they're eaten cold. It smells like a fish tried to haunt you through your nose. Locals see it as heritage. Outsiders see it as a reason to reconsider evolution entirely. In China, a dish called fermented meat tofu involves pork sealed in clay and left to decay in a warm spot until it looks like blue cheese and smells like betrayal. The brave say it's savory. The sane say, why are we fermenting pork like it's a science experiment? Surströmming, the infamous Swedish fermented herring, is technically fish, but the meat is so rancid it causes airplane cargo bans. Opening a can indoors is basically a hate crime against your nose. If hell had a pantry, this would be on the top shelf. Right next to Satan's expired hot dogs. A 17th century woman in France reportedly grew a horn out of her forehead after a head injury. Doctors back then said, hey, probably the devil. It turned out to be a keratin tumor. But for years she was known as the unicorn granny. Medieval medicine, where every lump was witchcraft. There was a cola called Meatwater Beef Cola. No, that's not a typo. It tasted like roast beef and came in a bottle. It wasn't a joke, just a horrific invention for liquid meal fans. One reviewer said it felt like drinking carbonated sadness straight from a cow's memory. Some Amazonian tribes figured out how to combine two totally harmless plants to create ayahuasca, a powerful hallucinogenic brew that lets you talk to the jungle. How did they discover this combo? Trial, error, and possibly the guidance of a lizard who speaks Latin. Science still has no solid explanation. China once stockpiled 1.5 million tons of garlic due to a superstition that it could prevent swine flu. Markets lost their minds. Garlic prices exploded. Vampires fled. People were treating cloves like medicine, protection, and an investment strategy all in one. Smelled like apocalypse, and Italian cuisine had a love child. In World War II, British citizens were told to stockpile tea, not ammo. Tea was seen as a morale-boosting necessity. The government literally created emergency tea reserves. Forget bullets. If the Blitz came, Granny was going to survive with biscuits, a brew, and passive-aggressive resilience steeped in Earl Grey vengeance. With Cotard delusion, people believe they're dead. Literally. No heartbeat, no blood, just walking meat suits. One guy even demanded to be buried. Imagine thinking you're a zombie but still paying rent. The only thing deader than their soul is their phone battery at 2%. There's a wine made from bananas in East Africa. It sounds like a smoothie's rebellious cousin. Fermented, frothy, and dangerously delicious, banana wine gets you tipsy with tropical flair, like a beach vacation where your snacks fight back. Wolfram Alpha answers with math, not mercy. Instead of showing websites, it attacks your question with a data hammer. Ask it anything, and it'll give you equations, graphs, and the existential realization that you never really liked math anyway. And that's a wrap on today's bizarre tour of flags, holidays, barf bag art, caffeine modeling, meat sleds, and emotionally unstable architecture. We covered everything from holy melons to invisible air collections, because obviously the world is held together by duct tape and chaos. If you laughed, gagged, or questioned reality at any point, slam that like button like it owes you rent, subscribe for more glorious nonsense, and drop a comment telling us which fact made your brain short-circuit. Until next time, stay weird, stay curious, and remember, somewhere out there a man is lovingly labeling a jar of air